welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo. This week we're playing with an old friend, Sonic the Hedgehog. And let's face it, he's had a rough couple of years, some ups and downs.
Mostly downs.
Yeah, but now he's returning to his 2D roots, and is it for the best?
Shaun White of snowboarding fame has now lent his name to a skateboarding game, and we kick-flip it to the extreme.
Fallout New Vegas is here, we're 40 hours in, and it's solid. But first, can you guess the game for this week? I think you'll find that game is Sonic.
Yeah, but which one? I'm off to read the news. I'm gonna kick-flip it to the extreme.
Good game.
An Xbox 360 owner has reached a gamer score of 500,000. Going by the handle of Stallion83, this dedicated gamer reached the unimaginable figure with a 20-point achievement from Telltale's Wallace & Gromit adventure game. With Xbox 360 games only awarding 1,000 points in total, not including DLC, it means Stallion83 has clocked hundreds of games. And they're not done yet. Stallion83's long-term plan is to hit the magical 1 million mark. For decades, man and machine have been matching wits in the world of chess, but now computer AIs are competing in a game that's a little more modern, StarCraft. The inaugural Artificial Intelligence and Interactive Digital Entertainment StarCraft AI competition has just wrapped up at the University of California. Specialized AI bots competed in 4 different categories: micromanagement, small-scale combat, tech-limited game, and full gameplay. While the finest StarCraft bots still aren't a match for elite human players, they have been creating some unexpected new tactical gambits, such as micromanaging constantly moving flights of mutalisks instead of bunching the airborne Zerg units together. Fascinating stuff. Once one of the largest independent developers in the world, Australia's own Chrome Studios has closed down, with only a skeleton crew of temporary staff hired back on contract to tie up loose ends. At the zenith of the studio's success, Chrome bought out Melbourne House and the remnants of Ratbag Games in Adelaide. As a result, this corporate downfall spells doom for the legacy of not one, but 3 Aussie icons. While a weak global economy and a strong Aussie dollar can shoulder part of the blame, it can't be ignored that other developers such as Halfbrick and Firemint have thrived under the same conditions.
Good game.
Hey, what's up, man? Been waiting here all day. So I just put my stuff in this drawer, right? There you go. Oh, wait a minute. I almost forgot the most important thing. There you go. Hey, this skateboard, it's gonna set you free.
Is there room for another skateboarding game in a market dominated for years by Skate and Tony Hawk? Ubisoft say yes, and their answer is Shaun White Skateboarding, which is a follow-up to Shaun White Snowboarding, which was in the snow.
This game takes a different approach to the already established skating franchises. While Tony Hawk has relied on his outlandishness and, well, jackass the last few years, and Skate really bases its appeal around realism, Shaun White takes firm aim at skating neophytes and a more casual gamer looking for thrills without having to come to grips with overly complex controls.
This is obvious too, because everything in the first 15 minutes of the game is achieved by pressing one button. Later you're introduced to the right thumbstick as a control for ollies and tricks, but the selection is incredibly limited until every trick in the game is bought with experience.
The general concept of the game is actually pretty cool. The more you skate and the more tricks you pull off, the more you build up your flow meter. And the higher your flow meter, the more you can affect the world around you by pulling brainwashed citizens out of their funk and helping transform the world into a hypercoloured nightmare of a skateboard park.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mash between that movie Equilibrium and De Blob.
Good morning. Welcome to the Ministry. Please proceed to your assigned task in an orderly and effective manner. Have a nice day.
An evil dictatorial government known as the Ministry has brainwashed the populace, turning them into obedient drones who feel neither high nor lows. Only skateboarding can brighten the city and inspire the population to new heights of skating.
Yeah, this game is far more narrative-based than most skating games. Story missions will see you joining a resistance group called the Rising and trying to free Shaun White from Ministry captivity.
I'm not really impressed with how some of the story missions come together. Some of them are fun, but then others will just dump you in a spot that's not conducive to the action you have to perform. Doesn't make sense.
Then there's the problem that a lot of the objective markers and actual quests are really quite obtuse. One of the more prevalent examples of this is that there's a lot of quests based around destroying cameras or other objects of oppression within a time limit. Most of these require the player to find the right grinding line, but trying to find that line in a busy environment when the objective pointer just shows you the nearest camera is really frustrating.
The difficulty curve is all out of whack. The controls are so lenient that it's almost impossible to stack it. But then a few hours in, the missions get so complex that I think it's just going to alienate a bunch of players.
I think the real problem is that for a skating game, a lot of what you have to do for the story missions is not actually skating. Far too many of the missions are little more than awkward platforming. Challenging the player to pull off tricks or get high scores is fun. Challenging them to get to the next area is not.
There's also those rather pointless hacking games that get in the way of skating. Every now and then you have to feed a robot into a computer and play a gimped version of Monkey Ball to progress. It's not fun, and it's definitely nothing to do with skateboarding.
I think the flow works well, but the rails and bridges you can control doesn't really. You only have seconds to aim for a rail, and sometimes it's not always obvious at which point you're supposed to aim for. Sometimes you stick to the rails, and other times you have to balance on them, and sometimes the rail just disappears mid-grind.
You just have to compare this to something like Skate 3 to see the difference. You know, in the stacks, for example, Skate 3 is gameplay orientated and visually impressive and just really fun, and this isn't.
Apart from that, I think it has to be one of the most visually unimpressive games we've played in a long time. The character modelling is quite ugly and the shadows are terrible.
Yeah, plus the city looks fine, but it's not much fun to navigate. There's lots of alleyways and dead ends that you'll get lost in as you're chasing that ever-present objective marker. Hex, I thought the multiplayer modes weren't that inspired and the maps weren't that great, plus we had frame rate issues.
Yeah, Shaun White Skateboarding is an incredibly fractured game. I think the concept is novel enough for it to slot itself into the already pretty full skate market, but I don't know, it was executed poorly. I like the idea of the flow, but not much else, so I'm giving it 4.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think we're on the same page, Hex. There are some pockets of fun here, but there's too much that gets in the way of a good time, so I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I haven't finished Borderlands. I've really been meaning to finish that one. Before I left for this trip, I was playing Civ 5, and I'm just about to take down Greece, and I'm like halfway. And I really hope I go back and play it when I get home and I won't lose interest in it or like forget what I was doing. I had a major crash in Fallout, and I lost, my save was gone, and I'd lost 3 hours of gameplay, and I didn't want to do it again, and I stopped playing. Yes, it's hard to make a flawless game, especially a game as big as that, and I know in our BioWare games too, there's bugs.
2 wrongs don't make a right.
There's a lot of gameplay, but for me, usually a deal breaker is if I lose a significant amount of hours and I wasn't fully invested, then I'm out.
Good game.
If you've missed the little blue hedgehog and think that it's about time he had a comeback, well, you're in luck. No tricks or crazy revamps, no gimmicks, just Sonic 4, pure and simple, has arrived on WiiWare, PSN, and XBLA. We're just getting the first episode to whet our appetite initially, and it's quite simply just the platforming Sonic that we love and remember.
Straight away, it throws you right into the middle of the action with familiar sounds and updated graphics for this generation. Sonic is looking pretty slick.
There are 4 zones in Ep 1, Splash Hill, Casino Street, Lost Labyrinth, and Mad Gear. There's also that special stage that fans will remember from the Mega Drive years. Once you've played through Splash Hill though, you'll actually unlock access to every stage in each zone, with the exception of the boss battles, of course.
Hex, I was a Sega guy, so I grew up with Sonic, and I like that they've done nothing too crazy here. They've gone back to Sonic's roots, and maybe that's because nothing else has really worked since.
Yeah, I remember loving Sonic Spinball heaps, so the Casino Street was definitely my favourite zone in Sonic 4 so far. I love all that whizzing about on playing cards and the pinball-style bumpers and flippers and the cannons. Sometimes I feel so out of control with what's happening on screen though. It's still so manic.
I gotta say though, Hex, the moment I picked this up, instantly I just rejected it for some reason. And it's something about Sonic. He didn't feel quite right to me, and I couldn't put my finger on it. So I went back and played 1, 2, and 3 and tried to figure it out. And there are two things that really bug me about Sonic 4 and the way he moves. And the first is the actual momentum of Sonic, which is core to Sonic, you know, his speed and judging where he's going to land next. But now you can just let go of the right stick and it will drop straight to the ground. So he's lost all of his momentum. And the second thing is, he takes a while to get going, and I actually I spent quite a lot of time putting this up against Sonic 1, 2, and 3 footage, and I found that to get to full speed in the original Sonics, he'd take 2.05 seconds. But to get to full speed in this one, it's 2.29 seconds, and that's kind of a big difference, and I don't know, it just really bugged me, and I never got over it.
I can tell you're upset.
I am. They're messing with my friend.
Well, I quite liked that he could stop short. I mean, you know, it meant that you could avoid potential death traps like spikes or hidden enemies, and you had more control over him, especially in the platforming parts.
But to me, that goes against what's core about Sonic. You know, he's this out-of-control guy just hurtling through the levels, and now he hurdles, but you can stop and do things. I didn't mind the mid-air dash though, Hex. I thought that was quite good.
You can aim yourself more forcefully at targets and springs, and more easily use bouncing off enemies as a way to get to the next bit of platform. I actually had a bunch of friends over for a bit of a Sonic party, and we all just kept crying at the screen in unison. Oh, I remember this. It was awesome.
Where was my invite?
Yeah. I also love how the underwater levels, the music plays when you're running out of air. And there's those waterfalls to nowhere. It's a great memory trip.
Yeah, I did enjoy the levels, and they definitely look great, especially the temple one with the giant Indiana Jones like boulders that Sonic can ride around on. That was definitely cool.
There's still a time limit on everything, which is really stressful, and also some pretty hectic puzzling elements which will frustrate the hell out of you, but in a good way. And of course the familiar boss fights with Dr. Robotnik, Eggman, whatever his name is now, so I don't think fans would be too disappointed. As I was tumbling through each level, I loved that each new turn would take me to some hidden area where I'd get bonus rings, lives, or power-ups. It's everything I loved about the original games, just shinier. I'm not really sure what the point is releasing it in episodes though. It seems like a bit of a money grab, and they are quite short. I just hope that in the coming episodes they introduce Tails or Knuckles. Knuckles was always my favourite.
I like Tails. Why Knuckles?
I don't know, he's an echidna and he's red and he can do that air dash. Just final thoughts.
I don't know how to feel about Sonic 4, Hex. I'm in a retro tizzy. I never quite got used to how he felt. When you look at something like New Super Mario Bros. Wii, where they really layered on top of what was good rather than changing core stuff, that really worked. I just felt they didn't do that here. But I could not enjoy this. I tried really hard, but I just didn't. I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think you're being melodramatic. I disagree with you. I had a great time with this. I think they did a good job with the reboot, and I liked the additions, and I didn't mind the changes. I think if you've never played a Sonic game before, then definitely play this. But if you're living in the past like Barjo, then maybe give the demo a go first, but I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
You know what? I also feel like I'm on the losing side of a war that happened a long time ago. Playing this game on something that's not a Mega Drive.
It wasn't that bad. It was fun. I had fun.
Just feel like I'm losing. I'm still fighting that war deep down. Hex, I'm in a bit of a face shooting mood. What have we got?
Oh, well, how about this one from Brian's uncle in Brains, South Australia?
I've been there. Oh. It's neat. I heard that there was a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 being made. Is this true? If so, whenabouts is the release date, and could you show me a preview? And if you do not, I will have to nom your brains. Well, Brian's uncle, yes, it is true that Modern Warfare 3 is in development at Infinity Ward. Well, what's left of Infinity Ward.
Yes, in case you've been living under a rock, there's been a bit of a legal brouhaha around Infinity Ward and the Modern Warfare series, with a bunch of now ex-Infinity Ward employees getting the shits with Activision and suing them.
Activision went on to file a countersuit in which they actually confirmed development was underway on Modern Warfare 3. Beyond that, though, there's been no info on it, so we can't really give you a preview, but we think it may look something like this.
Usually we'd expect it to follow the release schedule of previous Call of Duties and come out sometime around November 2011 in time for Christmas, but with all this legal mess, who knows?
Who knows indeed? No one. Well, Hex, I think we can squeeze in one more. What else you got for me?
Okay, how about this one from Kieran in Northam, Western Australia.
Had a lot of sugar today.
Will there ever be another Tom Clancy game? And if so, what is it and when does it come out? Well, Kieran, that's a bit like asking will there be any more Mario games. It just kind of goes without saying that there'll be more. They've been making them since as far back as 1987, starting with The Hunt for Red October, and to date there's been over 40 games already released under the Tom Clancy name.
And with 5 major franchises on the go with Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, Endwell Hawks and Splinter Cell, you can rest assured there'll be many more Tom Clancy games in the future. Heaps.
Good game.
Fallout New Vegas is here, and we've clocked 44 hours into the game so far, and here's how some of that went.
To the town of our free rode a stranger one fine day.
There's my little buttercup.
Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say.
Damn, you're looking tasty.
No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make a slip. The stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip. Big iron on his hip.
It's the future, or a post-apocalyptic distorted version of it, and there's a war going on between 2 major factions, the militant NCR
This is a military outpost.
and the Legion. They're fighting for control of New Vegas and the nearby Hoover Dam and the water it contains. Water is life in post-apocalyptia. New Vegas is set a few years after the near-perfect game that was Fallout 3, but it's not really a sequel, it's more like a game-length expansion with heaps of extra stuff.
In a westernish setting, you play a courier who, while delivering a very important chip, gets shot in the head. But it's not game over as you get exhumed by Victor, a robo-Frankenstein, and so begins your journey to track down your killer.
Might I say you're looking fit as a fiddle?
You get to make more choices on your own in this Fallout. Not everyone is going to be highlighted red to kill. The Legion and NCR all have their own morals, and each has a different set of goals and agendas. There's also other factions to consider, and while it may be possible to have a diplomatic ending, there will be blood.
Yeah, and right from the first 5 minutes of this game, it stresses you out with those tough choices where you commit your talent points and which traits you pick. Traits are a return from the original games, and they're a bonus which also have an equal negative. They're so tough to pick, and there is a really wacky one in there too, which is I think why I found this guy.
Thank you for bringing Rhonda back to me, stranger.
And these rather crazy grannies. After a couple of hours, the game will ask you if you want to rebuild your character from scratch, and I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah. Bethesda have handed the development of this game over to Obsidian Entertainment, but some of their employees worked on the original Fallout games, and you can really see their influence. This feels like an even bigger game than the last Banjo.
So let's take a look at what's new. There's more color in the world, more vegetation, and Vegas looks really good, but it is a bit underpopulated. And I guess that goes with the whole post-apocalyptic theme, but I was expecting a few more people about. We played this on Xbox 360, and in some of the bigger rooms, there were quite a few frame rate issues. In fact, in the big fights, we had about 10 crashes in the first 40 hours of this game, and you know, I'm a saveaholic, so I didn't lose anything, and the autosaves work quite well, but I hope there's a patch coming for it.
I wish they'd done a little bit more with the camera when you're interacting with people, and I also wish the free shooting had been a little bit better too. Later in the game, you do get some more forgiving weapons like the light machine gun, but in the end it's mostly about the VATS anyway, which all remains the same.
There's new perks, and some of the previous perks have been balanced up a bit too, which is good. The dialogue is very focused on all the different factions and their struggle to survive in this world. It's definitely of the same standard as Fallout 3, and humorous and witty and interesting.
Yeah, everyone has their own story to tell and opinion on the state of things.
Seclusion has kept us safe, but the world around us is changing.
Chatting and prying will open up more XP opportunities and more quests. It's worth reading as much as you can because it really adds so much more to the experience if you understand the history of that person. It also helps you to judge whether you're okay to let them live or if you just really want their hat.
You sick bastard.
He was 50 Santa Killer, though a youth of 24, and the notches on his pistol numbered 1 in 19 more. 1 in 19 more.
And if there wasn't enough to do, another game with challenges. It seems to be the in thing this year. I also found reading was much more important here. Of course you have your books which give you those permanent upgrades to your stats, but magazines will give you a temporary buff to help you through a tricky situation.
I see the wisdom in that.
Or to repair a sex bot.
Please assume the position. Servos active.
I think newcomers will still be thrown in the deep end here, but most of the time you'll just be working out how the game works and falling in love with the freedom you have. Now you can mod weapons, make your own ammo, and there are different ammo types, some better against armor and some for flesh. Also, armor has a damage threshold stat, so on harder difficulties you'll need to think more about the right weapon for the right enemy and keep a few guns on standby.
Companions are very good for hanging on to that extra loot so you don't get over-encumbered, and everybody loves a robot dog, especially if you upgrade his brain. And the new companion menu makes it much easier to look after them.
You just gotta.
As you complete good or bad deeds, depending on your preference, different factions will grow to love or hate you, and this has repercussions in the prices of gear and access to certain areas.
I don't have any compelling reason to trust you, given your behavior. So no, I'm not really inclined to give you a job.
It's executed well, and you can really tell if they love you or hate you, or if they have mixed feelings about you, because they'll give you the shifty eye and they'll keep saying, pick a side, pick a side.
Everything you've been up to, I just don't know what you're trying to pull.
You can also wear different factions' armor, and this will disguise you, but I didn't really find that too useful. It's just more things to collect, and it's already hard enough just managing my collection of snow globes, chessboards, and garden gnomes.
Yeah, a lot of this game is about kleptomania and gear, and it would have been nice to have an updated inventory system to cope with it all. You spend so much time in inventory management, and you know, while I like that at times, more filters or maybe a trash system like they had in Death's Bank, for example, would have been good. I just spent so much time scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. For those who like to punish themselves, there's the new hardcore mode, and if you play the whole game on hardcore, there's a surprise at the end. In this mode, stimpaks heal over time instead of instantly, and they won't heal damaged limbs. You also need to keep an eye on your food and water so you don't get dehydrated. Ammo has weight. It's a lot of managing for a surprise reward. I still think it'll be popular though, Barjo.
Yeah, me too. I did turn it off eventually though. It's just, you know when a game offers you a surprise reward, you don't know what it is and you want to know what it is, but all the time it's just something stupid like a hat.
Thanks for playing through on hardcore. Here's a piece of artwork.
Yeah,
Yay.
I think if it had been more progressive, you know, a more instantaneous reward, then I would have definitely done it, but it's just way too much managing, so.
Yeah. Hardcore or not, you should definitely play this through on hard if you've played Fallout 3 though.
Even though this game is mostly just doing this and this, Fallout New Vegas is utterly compelling, and it's because it's a game of secrets. Along with all the locked areas everywhere, every character has a secret that just needs to be investigated.
This is most unusual.
I'm just desperate to find out everything about everyone and open every single locked door and safe, just because if I don't, I might miss out on something cool, and I want the cool stuff.
I'm not quite as obsessive as you, but I am a gaming explorer, and no journey is wasted here because you can fast track to locations that you've previously visited if you need to return there. Also, if you kill everyone in a certain location and you need to go back there for a quest, you might already have the item that they're looking for, which is really convenient.
Oh, you need that guy's head? Well, I just have it right here.
Oh.
There you go.
Right alongside dogs.
It's such an achievement to give the gamer so much freedom of choice. It's just so clever, and because the game is so long, if you choose to kill a quest giver or if you accidentally do it, you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. It's just the way you approached that particular part of the story. The compass still sucks though, and I know it's part of the hardcore nature of the game and the themes and the exploration that make Fallout what it is, but you'd think for a futuristic Pip-Boy armband it would have a slightly better GPS.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You particularly notice it in the design of Freeside, the town near the strip. It's really frustrating there. You'll spend quite a bit of time just bouncing around quest givers there on menial tasks. The good news is though, if you get bored, you can just head out anywhere and you'll find stuff to do.
To be honest though, the AI hasn't improved from the last game. It's not that crash hot and you'll get people running into walls and little glitch parties here and there. It's nothing that got in the way of a mission or a quest, but it's still there.
At least the Legion knows what they're fighting for.
We did find one bug where you can just get guns forever, but in the interest of good sportsmanship, we won't show you it, and rest assured that we threw them all into the dam. Well, mostly. Might have kept some. I do wish there was more of the quirky music, though. Just more of it, you know. It just adds so much to the game, but there's only a few songs.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but the ambient music was nice, though. Even with our criticisms, you have to admit this is still a massive, masterful game. You never stop learning and discovering new things. You're constantly driving the story forward.
Hex, this is one of the most time-stealing games for me this year, and I loved every second of it. I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
That jingle, jingle, jingle,
You know, there's still so much we haven't touched on here, and I think even if we play this game for another 40 hours, things would still get left out because it's just that big. If you're new to the series, it'll take a while to click in why this game is so addictive, but once you do, it'll suck you in and submerge you totally. It's easily as good as Fallout 3 and a self-contained game in its own right, so I'm giving it 9.5 as well. So, did you guess the Sonic game for this week?
Yeah, it was Sonic Labyrinth, possibly the first bad Sonic game. Really bad one. 3D and Sonic just do not get on. It was released in 1995 for the Sega Game Gear and featured isometric gameplay.
If you have your heart set on winning our zombie, Brian, then you seriously need to get a move on because the competition closes this Friday.
That's right. If you want to enter, you need to make a zombie film no longer than 1 minute. Someone needs to say the words "good game," and you need to upload it to the Good Game YouTube channel where you can view other entries as well. All the information can be found on our site here.
Here's a sneak peek at some of the latest entries.
Come to clean the pool.
Serious?
That's all you to say good game. Are you stupid? Hey, man. Hi. You serious? Alright, I need a fourth. This will blow your mind.
I'm gonna miss Brian.
What should we dress him in for his finale outfit?
He should be a pretty princess.
A princess? Do we have a princess dress large enough to accommodate his
I'll make
frame?
him one.
You're on a sewing machine?
I'll staple some curtains. It'll be awesome.
Moving on, next week, the very best the gaming world has to offer with Vanquish, Super Scribblenauts, and DJ Hero 2.
Until then, gamers, may all your games be good ones.
Badger out.
Badger out.
Hex out.
Sorry, I was thinking about the dress. It's gonna be fabulous.
What? Okay, if I get the chul, then do you have a staple gun, and then you can just kind of staple it to him?
What's chul?
It's the material that tutus are made of. Shut up.
I'm learning so much about you.
Good game.